The holiday whirlwind is officially over. Everyone's gone home. The leftovers are crammed into my fridge. And now you might be standing thinking, okay, why am I doing all of this in a house that's built for 5 people when it's really just me? Yeah, that moment hits a lot of women I work with here in the Denver suburbs, especially after hosting or being the one that holds everything together. And it usually leads to the big question, should I downsize my house? Today we're going to talk about just that, the pros, the cons, the surprises no one warns you about, and how to make this decision without regret. Here's the thing most women won't say out loud. Downsizing really isn't about the square footage. It's about your life, your energy, your routines, your people, what actually supports you now. And if you've been carrying this house alone, the stairs, the yard, the rooms you clean but never use, or even the memories that feel heavier this time of year, of course that question shows up. But before you jump into anything or talk yourself out of anything, let's slow down the noise and actually walk through what downsizing really looks like. The good, the hard, the things women 50 plus tell me they wish somebody had warned them about. Because downsizing, well, that can be one of the best decisions you've ever made, if you do it intentionally. And I'm going to help you figure out whether this is your moment or just holiday fatigue talking. Let's start with the emotional side. Yeah, because that's the one no one warns you about. It's the one that can sneak up on you later if you're not prepared. You know, I talk with women all over the Denver suburbs, like Highlands Ranch, Littleton, Parker, Lakewood, and they all say the same version of the same thing. I thought downsizing would feel freeing. I didn't expect the emotional whiplash. When you move from the home where you raised your kids, loved somebody deeply, or just lived a whole chapter of your life, you're not just downsizing a house, you're downsizing an identity. And if you move somewhere that feels too quiet, too far, or too different from the life you want now, well, that's when regret sneaks in. So let me ask you this. If you were to downsize tomorrow, who would you see the most? Who would you call? Where would you go on a Tuesday afternoon? Does your new location make that easier or harder? Because emotional regret isn't about the home itself. It's about the disconnection from friends, routines, community, and yes, the memories you're still holding. When I left my 3,000 square foot home after my divorce, I knew I didn't need all the space anymore, but I did need connection, neighbors I could wave to, trails close by, and places to meet friends without driving half the city. That's what made my right-sized home feel right. So if you're thinking about downsizing, here's an emotional checkpoint I give every woman I work with. Don't pick the house first, pick the life first. Then choose the home that supports it. That's how you avoid emotional regret. Not by pretending the move isn't big, but by choosing a new chapter that actually feels like you. Now, let's talk about the next regret women don't see coming, the practical side. The stuff you don't notice till you're living in your new place and suddenly you're saying, what was I thinking? All right, now let's talk about practical side, because this is where women tell me, Peggy, nobody warned me about this. You can love the idea of downsizing, right? The simpler life, the easier upkeep, but the day-to-day reality of a smaller home can be surprising. I've had women who were absolutely convinced they could live with 1 bathroom, a tiny kitchen, no pantry, a closet the size of a pillowcase. And about 3 weeks after moving in, they're calling me saying, Peggy, I think I made a mistake. So here's the question I always like to ask. Can you live in this house on a random Tuesday? Not the day you host the kids, not the day friends visit, just a normal Tuesday. When you come home from Costco, where does everything go? When the laundry basket is full, where does it sit? If you love to cook, can you actually prep a meal without feeling like you're playing kitchen Tetris? And where on earth do the Christmas decorations go? That one gets everybody. Because the truth is, practicality is rarely about square footage. It's about flow. It's about what's easy, what's annoying, and what quietly wears you down. You know, when I moved out of my 3,000 square foot house, you'd think I would have missed the space the most. No, you know, what I really noticed was how much I didn't use and how good it felt not to maintain rooms that were basically just there for show. But, and here's the key, I moved into a space that still fit my life. I didn't give up the things that mattered. Community, storage, a place for Goldie and Elton, a place to entertain. And I didn't trade in all of those things just to be smaller. So when you're touring a potential downsizing home, don't admire the cute kitchen and cozy feel. Walk through it as if you live there. Where would you drop your purse? Where would the groceries go? Where do you put the litter box? Where do you put the dog bowl? And where do the guests sleep or don't? That's how you avoid the practical regret, the one that sounds like, this home is adorable, but I didn't sign up for a daily obstacle course. Now, let's talk about regret that hits women in the wallet, and sometimes the heart, harder than any other, the financial one. Now let's talk about the money side, and not the dramatic like, oh my gosh, the roof is falling in. I'm talking about Denver-specific things that sneak up on people. Because here's the truth, most big repair surprises, they get caught in the inspection. Colorado bodies are savvy, and inspectors are thorough. That's not usually where the downsizers get tripped up. The regret comes from something else. Buying the wrong kind of home for your budget and your lifestyle. Not a bad home. In the Denver metro area, the biggest financial shock I see is this. People downsize into a newer home thinking it'll be cheaper, it'll be easier, and then they realize, oh, this is in a metro district. And suddenly, their property taxes didn't just nudge up, they doubled or tripled. Not because the home was fancier, but because the community is carrying bond debt. All metro districts aren't bad. I live in Colorado. I get why they exist, but they're a long-term financial commitment, and a lot of solo women don't find that out until the tax bill shows up. On the flip side, older homes may need a little more love over time, but they often come with lower taxes, established neighborhoods, mature trees, and communities that feel settled, not under construction. So you have to ask yourself, does the cost of the home match your lifestyle and your long-term budget? Not just the mortgage, but the taxes, HOA, metro districts, and ongoing fees of living there. When I work with solo women, we look at the full picture, because downsizing isn't about getting smaller, it's about getting smarter. A $500 a month difference in taxes or fees? Well, that can change your entire retirement plan. Just remember, in Denver, smaller doesn't always equal cheaper. It equals different. Once you understand the real numbers, you get to make decisions from a place of power, not surprises. And financial fit is just one piece. The next regret I see is all about lifestyle, and this one catches people completely off guard. You know, the regret that sneaks up on people after the boxes are unpacked? Lifestyle. Yeah, not the HGTV version, the real day-to-day life you actually live. Because listen, no one downsizes thinking, oh, I hope this move makes my life less convenient. But it happens more often than you'd like to think. Here's where I see the biggest lifestyle regrets in the Denver suburbs. People think about the house they're moving into, but not the life they're moving into. For example, a client of mine moved to be closer to her adult children, and 6 months later, the kids moved to Castle Rock. Suddenly, she's a 45-minute drive away from everyone she'd uprooted her life to be near. Or the woman who traded her walking trails, her favorite Safeway, and her church for a cute little place she thought would be easier. It was easier, but it also meant driving everywhere, feeling disconnected, and realizing that she didn't plan for the actual life, she planned for the square footage. So downsizing isn't just about bedrooms and bathrooms. It's about routines, community, how you spend your days, and who you're spending them with. And let's be honest, once we hit 50, 60, or 70, being 25 minutes away from the doctor becomes a thing. So here's a lifestyle check I give every woman I work with. Picture your actual week, Tuesday through Sunday. Where do you drive? Who do you see? Where do you walk? Where do you exhale? If your new home doesn't support that life, it won't feel like a fresh start. It'll feel like an interruption. The good news? This is a regret that's 100% avoidable. When you choose a home that matches the life you want to live now, not 5 or 10 years ago, downscaling suddenly feels like right-sizing. And that brings us to the regret I see most often, one nobody talks about till it's too late. The community around the home. HOA rules, maintenance, noise. This one deserves its own spotlight. So let's talk about the regret that nobody puts on Instagram, the community around the home. I don't care if it's a townhome, a patio home, a condo with a garage, or a lock-and-leave ranch. You're not just buying walls and a roof. You're buying the rules, the neighbors, and the way of life. And yes, HOAs have a terrible reputation right now. Half the memes on the internet are all about the HOA lady measuring somebody's lawn with a ruler. But here's the real truth, especially here in the Denver suburbs. HOAs are not all the same. Some are fabulous, and some are character building. I live in a patio home community. We've got rules for everything from watering schedules, to not feeding the wildlife, to not parking in front of your garage because of emergency easements. Which means, yes, if you like tossing peanuts to the squirrels or turning your garage into an overflow parking lot, you and the HOA might not be soulmates. And here's where regrets creep in. A lot of solo women downsize into a beautiful place, but they don't read the rules and the restrictions or understand the culture of the community. For instance, Denver's new water conservation rules are tightening. Some HOAs now limit gardening, planting, or what you can do with the yard. And if you're a raised bed tomato queen, moving somewhere that says no gardening is a fast track to misery. Or you pick a home that's attached thinking, oh, it'll be quiet. But then you discover your neighbor practices tube at 7:15 in the morning, and suddenly your dream home has a soundtrack. Community matters. Proximity to people is important. Maintenance style, noise tolerance, shared walls, parking rules, wildlife rules, even trash day protocols. This can all shape your daily life. So here's your reality check. Before you fall in love with the granite countertops, know what you're signing up for outside the front door. When I help women downsize, we look at the HOA financials, their long-term maintenance plan, their enforcement style, their water rules, their wildlife rules, and their parking regulations. Because you deserve a community that fits your lifestyle, not one that surprises you with a violation letter or unexpected fees. A great community can make downsizing feel like freedom. The wrong one can make you feel like you traded square footage for stress. Let's make sure you land in the right one. So here's the bottom line. Downsizing isn't just about picking a smaller house. It's about choosing a life that fits you now. And you deserve to make that decision from a place of clarity, not fear, not pressure, and definitely not regret. Today we talk through the biggest regrets I see for women 50 plus in the Denver suburbs. But here's the hope in all of this. Every single one of these regrets is preventable when you slow down, ask the right questions, and make a strategic plan. You've handled harder things than moving. You've rebuilt, reorganized, and kept going when life didn't give you a choice. Downsizing shouldn't break you. It should actually give you back time, energy, connection, and peace. And if you're in this stage and you're whispering that question, is it time for me to downsize? I put together a guide that will help you take the next step without overwhelm. It's called Strategic Moves for Women 50 Plus, How to Buy Smart When You're Moving Solo. And the link is right below this video. And if you want something quick and simple to start with, download my Downsizing Checklist. It's an easy one-page roadmap that helps you get organized and avoid the mistakes so many women make. I'm Peggy Durstoff, a realtor with Live Denver Suburbs, powered by HomeSmart. And I help women in the Denver suburbs make confident, well-planned moves, especially when they're doing it solo, after a major life change. If you want support, real talk, and weekly videos that help you plan your next chapter with confidence, hit subscribe. I'm here every Friday with new content just for you. And if your next thought is, okay, Peggy, where do I start with all the stuff in my house? You don't have to guess. Click the next video in my Solo Seller Journey playlist, How to Declutter When You Want to Keep Everything. We'll talk through the emotional side, the practical steps, and how to get unstuck so you can move forward without drowning in a lifetime of belongings. I'll see you there, and we'll keep taking this one step at a time.